Correct.
So now they're gonna return them. And then some
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Wednesday, November the 8th, morning session, agenda meeting. I'd like to get Mr. Lee to say the pledge and Mr. Kirk to say the prayer. Will y'all please stand?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recite the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
All right. Let's get to number 3. I guess it's Kayla Bingham?
Yes, sir.
Acadiana Watershed District. Yes, ma'am.
And use this mic or?
Yes, ma'am. You can
Okay.
use that mic.
Good morning. My name is Keely Bingham. I'm with the Acadiana Planning Commission. We are the fiscal agent for Louisiana Watershed Initiative Region 5, which Cameron Parish is a part of. And recently in the legislature, we have created the Acadiana Watershed District. So I'm going to give you a background of what we've been doing in our watershed work. And then we also have our interim CEO, Ms. Sarah Gary, that's going to go over the legislation. And the goal today is to brief you about the Acadiana Watershed District, and we're asking each of our 16 parishes to sign an ordinance, which I do have copies of, to acknowledging Acadiana Planning Commission as the fiscal agent and administrator of the Acadiana Watershed Districts. But we can go through that a little bit after the presentation as well. Okay, so we're the Acadiana Planning Commission, and we were legislatively created as Louisiana Planning District 4, and we serve the sectors of community and economic development and transportation development, and now watershed development. And Acadiana Planning Commission serves these 7 parishes, and we have a board. Just to give you some oversight for Louisiana Watershed Initiative, that happened after the 2016 flood. So Governor Edwards formed LWI, and it has oversight from a state agency called the Watershed Council. So we have CPRA and Governor's Office, Wildlife and Fisheries, DOTD, and the Office of Community Development is the one who basically carries out the program and holds the money. The Office of Community Development was granted, with the state granted, HUD money, which is $1.2 billion after the floods of 2016. There's different coordinating agencies. So the way LWI was formed, that we would have not political boundaries or geographic boundaries, but hydrologic boundaries. And so they divide the state into 8 watersheds based on the hydrologic boundaries. Actually, now there's 9. This is an old slide. 9 came into legislature last year, and basically it split Region 7. So we are Acadiana Planning Commission. We're the fiscal agent for Region 5, and we serve the watersheds or the Mermentau Headwaters, Teche Vermilion, and some interactions with the Chaffalaya Basin, as we do have Iberville and Point Capite parishes, or portions of those parishes in Region 5. I believe Cameron Parish is between the LWI Region 5 and LWI Region 4. This is just the budget for the funds allocated. Where does that $1.2 billion go? There's local and regional watershed projects and programs, of course. Then we have state projects and programs, watershed monitoring, mapping, modeling. We need that science, we need that data. Non-federal cost share assistance for HMGP funds, hazard mitigation grant program, administrative cost, and the policy planning and local capacity assistance. So the grant that funds the fiscal agents, they call it a regional capacity building grant. And that's what we're trying to do, and I believe we've achieved that with Acadiana Watershed District, to build capacity within in a regionally focused, watershed, where some obviously areas don't have as much resources as others. Just to give you a recap on the work that we've done. So we've kind of been in this Acadiana Planning Commission before LWI was formed. After the 2016 floods, we had $25 million from FEMA. And FEMA did like a watershed resilience study, and we had about 8 or 9 projects from that pot of funds. One of the projects is a regional project called the Acadiana Regional Gauge Network. We just selected a contractor. It's been a while. Working with FEMA funds, as you know, is slow. So we're going to deploy about 100 gauges in 8 parishes for rain data and also flow data. And the state, LWI, also has a rain gauge network, but that's 100 gauges in the state, and so we'll have 100 gauges in 8 parishes. To get that more kind of granular level data, we'll see how this goes, but the intention is to expand. Also for round 1 projects, this is through LWI, Region 5 received about 20 out of 60 million, and then each region, there was $40 million, and that was divided into 8 regions at the time, so each region received about $5 million. There's also a design support program that Region 5 received. This program was pulling funds from round 1 because some of our municipalities or parishes within the region couldn't afford the technical assistance or engineering, so the state stepped back and gave some funding to help with those projects. And this just kind of explains how round 1 went, the distribution of 100 million. 60 million that was selected by the state, and then the 40 million was selected by the region. Design support program, again, these were smaller municipalities. These were like Avoyelles Parish, Allen Parish, and Lafayette Parish that have received these funds. The round 1 projects, the local and regional projects, was selected by the state and the region. There were no projects for Cameron Parish for round 1 for Region 5. The state projects and programs, that was selected by the state only, and there is the Mermentau Basin Inundation Relief Project between Cameron and Vermilion. It's $25 million for drainage improvements. According to the website for LWI, the construction could begin early next year. Also, we have the creation of the region's comprehensive project inventory. So we have 16 parishes in our region. And who's doing what? We have our meetings, we had a steering committee, but we wanted basically a physical place to house these projects. So we have a project inventory. These could be conceptual projects or actual projects, but this is linked on our website so that you can view which projects are happening in the region, or if different parishes and municipalities can work together for conceptual project. We had a capital improvement program from our subcommittee. This is as LWI Region 5 steering committee, and that's when parishes actually got together and would talk about projects they had in their parish to share ideas, which is very beneficial. Also, we helped to identify alternate funding sources, because LWI funding, not everyone gets to share the pot, but also it's not going to last forever. So we looked at USDA, has some NRCS PL 566 funds. There was a project that Evangeline Parish was looking at, so we're helping to assist them with the application letter. And open to assisting all our parishes in our region too, if anyone has any projects in mind. The Army Corps, there's something called the Silver Jackets Technical Assistance. They're doing a study of the socially vulnerable, highly flood-prone structures in Region 5. So hopefully we'll have that study next year or early next year. Also, there is there was an old study in the probably 1999 called Alexandria to the Gulf, and a portion of this study, they call it West of the Atchafalaya Basin study. We want to expand that. We're working with Congressman Higgins' office. There's something called WRDA. You might be familiar with the Water Resources Development Act. There was one in 2020. I think the next, or 2022. The next one for potential funding is 2024 next year. And we have non-federal sponsors, which would be CPRA and DOTD for this project. If we can get the Corps to do the study, that gives us some legs as a region to maybe get further additional federal funding for our parishes. We also started a community ratings system user group. We need more participation in the National Flood Insurance Program community rating system, incentive-based. It's hard to get going, but there are resources, and so we had been meeting to learn from other parishes that participate in it. Basically, you do some activities, you get some points, and the ultimate goal is to reduce flood insurance premiums in the area, but also help with local flooding. Nature-based solutions, that's a state tool. They have opportunity maps available, so this would be available for use as well. They're developing an Explorer tool coming soon. The regions will be working on a regional watershed plan. So we're representing LWI Region 5 as we transition to the Acadiana Watershed District. The boundaries are the same, and therefore our regional plan would be the same. So we'll be working with the state. Again, each region of the 9 regions now has to develop this plan. We also have a regional hazard mitigation plan that we're applying for through this FEMA funds. And each region roughly got $1 million, the LWI watershed regions. And so it was agreed with Region 5 if we could do a regional hazard mitigation plan. And that way, if we understand through the Acadiana Watershed District, if we have our own regional hazard mitigation plan, then we could get direct HMGP funds. We don't have to go through a state office. The watershed modeling, which is important, every region will have watershed models the state is working on. For Region 5, the contractor is HDR Engineering. Each region has different engineering groups. There's like Freese and Nichols, Finstamaker, just to name a few. And so these should be ready at the beginning of 2024. Foundational models, but at least it's a start, and so we're excited about that to help inform projects that can be beneficial in the area. The UL Louisiana Watershed Flood Center, they're an integral part of the Acadiana Watershed District, and they're a community collaborator. They have a National Science Foundation grant for communicating flood risks and the impacts that's ongoing. And we continue to work with local governments that have limited resources and leverage any capacity that we can, and again, find these additional funds. So I'm going to hand it over to Sarah Gary, our interim CEO, about the legislation and how that came about, and why this is why we are here today.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. My name is Sarah Gary, and I am the interim CEO of Acadiana Planning Commission. And as Killia said, I'm going to go walk you guys through how we worked this legislation through this past regular session. So we went through the regular legislative session of 2023. We had a Senate sponsor of Senator Fred Mills, who has been an integral part in not only our local watershed district, but as well as the state, trying to take what the LWI has done and make it a legislative function, right? Because it is, right now, LWI is just an executive order. And so with the new governor coming in, we're not quite sure what that's going to look like moving forward. So we kind of knew that we wanted to make sure that all of the hard work that we had done within Region 5 kind of continued to go forward. And so we felt the best path moving forward was to go and actually get it legislatively done. And we were successful. We started out with Senate Bill 102. We became Act 323. The watershed district went into effect August 1st of this year. And so like Hilya said, we're in this kind of transition period from LWI into the Acadiana Watershed District. For the grant purposes for LWI, because we do have funding for the next couple of years, we will function as LWI Region 5 for that purpose, but acting as Acadiana Watershed District. And you know, the whole purpose is to be able to use science to help you guys get the data that you need in order to go after, you know, whatever projects that you find will be beneficial not only to your area, but it's also an educational component, because we've worked really hard to educate and tell everybody that, look, what you do up north affects those down south, right? What you do east or west of you affects, it's not just you, it goes beyond you. So again, I know you've probably heard this, but water sees no political bounds. It goes wherever it is necessary to go. So we want to be able to use that science to help you guys make those data-driven decisions. You know, the district was designed, you know, to promote drainage and flood risk reduction within its boundaries. Also to have a unified effort to address both flooding and drainage issues. You know, how do we work with the communities next to us whenever, you know, they're doing projects, to see how does it affect you, right? Or how does it affect Vermilion, those things. And also to try to establish some best practices. And so again, we were able to successfully do that. This is what our watershed district looks like, the 16 parishes. Some of them, we encompass the entire parishes. Other, kind of like you guys, it's just a portion of your parish. So the way that we're kind of made up is we have a 18-member board of commissioners that actually makes the decisions, and it's made up of the 16 parish either police jury presidents, in Lafayette's case the mayor president, or for those that are just regular consolidated governments, their parish presidents. On the floor there were two. Now that being said, those police jury presidents, those parish presidents, and or the mayor president in Lafayette's case can designate somebody to sit on their behalf should they choose to do so. There was an amendment that was made on the floor, and there were two members that were added, and that's the chairman of the House Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, as well as the chairman or their designee on the Senate Committee of Natural Resources. So those were two added on the floor. So that makes up our policy board, for lack of a better term. There's also a technical advisory committee that is designed to go ahead and advise that policy board on decisions, and that is made up of quite a few different people, technical folks. There's people from the Soil and Water Conservation District, Test Vermilion Freshwater, UL's Watershed Flood Center is there to help us, because part of the reason why we wanted to legislatively create the district is because our hope is to house the model for our region, and so UL has the technical expertise to actually run that model. So we're partnering with them. Also the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. There's folks from LA. There's a seat for LA DOTD, CPRA, U.S. Corps Army Engineer, and then we have two at-large seats. So we have two at-large members that are nominated that would go for municipalities with a population of more than 30,000, as well as two at-large for municipalities that are under 30,000. So we haven't quite figured out how we're going to do that yet to get those members elected, but the theory in this point is that we'll communicate with those communities that either have more than 30,000, which I think are only like maybe 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken, and then those that have under 30,000, ask them to send in names and then present those names to the board, and then have the board choose who those 2 members from each one of those population sectors would be. And then, what are our future and current goals? And so we obviously want to promote consistent watershed-based flood management policies. We want to, try to get you guys as many plans as far as hazard mitigation is concerned, or any other type of plan where we can access directly those federal funds as the district, without having to go through other state or state agencies. Outreach and engagement is a big component of this. How do we get people or communities to participate in the CRS, the National Flood Insurance Program, CRS program, in order for your communities to lower their flood insurance rates, right? And it depends on, like Hilya said, depends on the rating that you get, depends on, how much that cost will come down on your homeowner's insurance. And then, here to help you guys, support you guys, as well as all of the other parishes within the district, to get communities, to understand your point. Like if someone to the north is doing a project and it's going to affect you, educating those folks that, hey, this project, if you do this, it's going to affect us in this way. And so that collaboration is a real big thing. And then project development and implementation. Again, how do we get the projects that you guys need done with the limited funding that everybody has? For us, being the district means that we can go after direct federal funds. We don't have to go through a state agency to pull that down because of the way that we are created. And then the data and the modeling. How do those models and and the data from that help you guys plan out your projects and be successful at it? So just a couple of things, and this is, you guys are the second people we've given this presentation to. Vermilion Parish, we actually did that last week. And so this slide has kind of come out of some of the questions that they asked there. So again, we are only one there's two legislatively created watershed districts right now. Region 9, which is the Amite River Basin Commission, is one, and they were done in the 2022 regular legislative session, and then now the Acadiana Watershed District. The state, during both 2022 and 2023, actually proposed their own legislation to do exactly what we did, and it failed both times. But again, Region 9 as well as Region 5 were successful at getting it done. What that means is, you know, right now you're competing against 64 other parishes for money. Now with our own watershed district, we can go after funds to where that you know, you're now with only 15 other parishes you're competing, right? So that's for us is a win-win, you know, because it's less parishes that we have to do in order. It's more money for you guys, right? Again, APC's been involved in watershed districts since 2017. Within the legislation, it does give us taxing. The watershed district does have taxing authority. Vermilion, part of what they were asking is the way it's written is that there are 16 parishes. In order for any type of tax to be passed, you have to have a majority of vote within each of the 16 parishes, right? So it's not just a majority vote within the 16, it's each parish has to have a majority vote for it to pass. So for any type of tax or millage. Right now, we're very far removed from even thinking about that. We do have funding through LWI for the administrative side for quite some time. And our goal is to go after grants for the different projects and for the administrative side of things for the time being until we kind of get established and, you know, prove to everybody that, you know, we're legit. I think that's all we have. Kelia, do you have anything else?
I got a question.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
We'll start with the end right there, the tax. What, I might have missed it, but, you were asking the parishes to pass a tax?
No, we're not. The legislation, it's written into the legislation that the watershed district has the ability to do so.
Tax who?
Well, it can either be a sales tax or a millage is what it would be, basically,
And the purpose of that is?
to fund potential projects and or administration.
So you gotta pass a tax to fund projects.
No, I mean, our goal is to not even do that. Our goal is to go after grant funding, which allows us to do so as a watershed district directly without having to go through the state.
But you still have authority to do that.
They still, yes, this still has the watershed district still has the authority to do so.
Can you put the map back up, please?
Yes, sir.
But you'd have to have a majority in every parish.
Yes, sir.
The complete map, man. The first one that you showed.
Oh, okay, sorry. That one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So why would you split a parish like you done, like you have in Cameron Parish?
So we did not, that was all done by LWI based off of, I think what, Hug 8 level?
Yeah.
Watershed districts, watershed regions?
That doesn't make sense. Not whatsoever.
Cause it looked like you got the water district, I mean, your drainage, is the Mermentau the divider of what is shown in the, in Cameron Parish?
Yes.
Yes.
So how would, you know, dividing that, so we have to engage the Mermentau drainage, which is the dumping ground for Cameron Parish, is the Mermentau. All the water and that whole Mermentau basin comes in Cameron Parish and Vermilion. So how dividing it, putting it in two different districts makes any sense?
Yeah, that was the state, so this is Louisiana watershed,
I understand.
right,
I'm just-
correct.
I'm just,
I'm not an engineer, but this, because it always says water doesn't follow political boundaries. And the problem is that, okay, we have Cameron Parish, we have Vermillion Parish, Lafayette Parish. This is our bounds. We're not working with anyone, but we got to realize that water will cross those political or geographic boundaries. So the state, I guess for their technical teams, looked at the HUC 8, Hydrologic Unit Code 8 for watersheds, and this is how they based it on the hydrology of where the water's going to drain. So they divided the regions based on where the water goes.
They decided how that water's gonna drain, and that's how they draw it?
No, not, well, obviously no one can control as where the water drains, but that was what the, I think hydrologists decided to draw like the boundaries, because the state did have to designate a fiscal agent for each region. And so this is how it was decided for Region 5. And that's why Cameron Parish is split. We have a little bit of Calcasieu, Point Capee, Iberville. Rapides Parish is in 4 different watershed regions.
But they're coming through a major drainage, but they don't take in consideration
Where it ends up.
you got 16 parishes draining through Cameron Parish.
Yep.
And Vermillion Parish, and a little bit draining through the others, because they're using the intercoastal to divert the water to the west. So they're flooding Cameron Parish. And the 8 projects y'all have in Acadiana right now, is that all for drainage?
No,
Improved drainage?
there's a variety of projects. That's some handouts for round 1, and we just got news about potential round 2 projects.
Because what I'm seeing is they're missing, like I say, they're missing something on the intercoastal canal. They're not even showing it in there, but they're fixing to flood us out through the intercoastal.
Well, right, and this,
Getting all this water.
right, and that's what projects, and that's, hopefully I'm understanding, explaining it well, that's, the state is making those decisions. We've had no decision in the projects themselves. For round 2, our steering committee did rank projects as low, medium, or high, but ultimately the state decides on it. But as the Acadiana Watershed District, we have these boundaries, but that would not limit us to type of projects. We will not have the state telling us what to do. It would be a board. Cameron Parish would have 1 vote on what would be the best projects. Each parish would have 1 vote. Yeah, correct.
Mr. President, can I?
Yes, sir, you can.
On this deal, I know we're asking questions to you
Oh,
that the
please, go ahead.
engineering group should be answering. These are more administrative people, they don't pick the projects themselves. But the question would be, our member is, right now, who's serving on that position?
It will be the president. or his
Will be the
designee.
president, we have no sitting
Oh,
member yet?
Currently, we have Scooter Trostclair as our representative for Cameron Parish.
Okay, Scooter's the one.
Yeah.
All right, and I'd like to know, how can we get the names of the people that's on that board so that we can petition them for one of those 2 outstanding seats that may come up for the under 30,000?
Okay, and yes, the at-large, now that is a technical advisory committee. They do not have voting rights. So our board of commissioners are the ones that have voting rights, and that's 18 members. So 1 member from each of the 16 parishes, and 1, the senator and representative on the Senate and House Committee on Natural Resources. So we have 18 members, voting members.
All right, so do you have 2 separate boards, one technical, one,
Correct.
do they not meet together?
No, sir. They would not, I mean, we haven't gotten to that point, but normally it could work where they both meet together. When the technical group advises the actual policy group as to, projects or whatever. And then the policy group votes one way or the other. Sometimes you could see, like currently under the LWI structure, the technical group is the CIP group, which is the capital improvements projects group. They meet ahead of what is the steering committee, which is the policy group. And then that information, whoever the chairperson of the CIP committee is, goes and he or she briefs the steering committee on what was done.
And then one last question.
Yes, sir.
Is this group gonna have any control over what we do as a parish if we decide to have projects
sir.
in our parish, such as burns or canals or things of that
No,
nature?
sir.
You would not have any input to that? Then what good is it gonna do to have a board if they have no input on what every other parish is doing, if it affects the drainage of the whole water basin?
So we've been working together, I'm going to say, since 2019 is when we first met at a steering committee for LWI with 16 parishes. The way legislation is written, we're not coming in to have any authority. Who wants to be told what to do, correct? You know what's best for your parish. But the idea of a watershed district, like we've been functioning as, and now we could be a legit political subdivision, is to get everyone in the room together to talk about projects and needs and have, hey, we're not going to shove everything down to our southern parishes. So we've been operating this way. It has worked, and that's kind of what we're continuing to do, and to go after like grant projects or additional funding. So just getting everyone in the room to communicate with each other.
So we're not gonna have to worry about getting approval to any project we wanna do from you guys.
No, I mean, our goal would be that you would come and potentially, I mean, the way we envision this to fully work once it's all stood up and everything is good, right, is that you guys or each parish, as you're doing projects, because it could just be, you know, you may want to participate in a multi-parish project that benefits not only your parish, but, you know, for other parishes, but you have day-to-day operations that may not affect anybody else but you. The hope is that once this is all said and done with, is that those day-to-day operations, like if you're cleaning out or dredging something, right, that you would come and you would inform them, so that way, you know, they could know about what's going on. So the other parishes, you guys are not really, because you're on the southern end, right? But like for instance, like you would want to know if someone to your north, right, is going to be cleaning out a channel that's going to now push a lot more water, you know, to you guys. So that's kind of the hope, is that, you know, this is also used to fund projects that are multi-jurisdictional, but also to inform these communities of other projects that may affect them.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
So,
These technical meetings, are they open to the public?
Everything is.
So if we wish to send a group to the public meeting, non-voting, they could go sit in and listen?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Even on the policy side.
Joe, please.
yes, sir.
I know, nothing against you, but I think that's a problem. What we're talking about right now is, they're already using this as a drainage, Cameron Parish. And then you cut Cameron Parish in half, all right? Everything's gonna come this way. No, it doesn't make any difference what you do unless you dig a monster canal to drain the rest of the parishes. It's gonna come right back on Cameron Parish. That's not good for Cameron Parish. And I don't know about the rest of these guys, but I wouldn't support that. Though I won't be here but another month, but I can tell you, I won't support it.
Me too. Thank you, Mr. President. For 8 years, I've been working to try to get a drainage issue solved, or even have input from the Corps on doing a study of the intercoastal waterway. It takes on all the water from the Vermilion estuary. That intercoastal waterway the levels have been raised on the low water side for reasons I don't understand, but I do understand. First of all, you can never get any information from the Corps. They will not give you a bit of information, and if they do, my staff, they send it to you in such a big bunch of bull, so much paperwork that you cannot never make heads or tail out of it. That's the first issue. The second issue is the people of Cameron Parish is the smallest amount of people that represent a large parish, okay? We get one vote, and we never get listened to, but we get all the water. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And we have, the Corps, or the FEMA, has steadily moved the coastal zone up in Cameron Parish. Now it includes almost all of Cameron Parish. Used to stop halfway along the intercoastal waterway was now our people that are trying to get insurance in the coastal zone have to pay outrageous prices because the Corps and the federal government has flooded Cameron Parish, basically. We cannot get dredging done in that intercoastal. You know why they hold the water higher? Because the boats can't pass when the water's low. Well, I found out here recently that that's a big crop of something. I'll just state that. Because the intercoastal waterway right now is 3 foot lower than their normal stage, and the boats are still passing. So what's going on? You can't get an answer, but the boats are still passing. The water's way down. The marshes are dry. So the Corps either lied or they not got data to back up their reflective raising the water level, the low water level in that intercoastal. And like I said, I'm here for 1 more month, and I hope that the jury in the future will keep this fight up, because we're getting flooded, our coastal zone's moving north, all of our parishes in the coastal zone now, all our people gotta pay these outrageous prices for insurance, and ain't nobody cares about Cameron Parish. I think, with me personally, I think they just don't want us here. They making it to where you can't be here. I know I'm preaching to y'all, but I'm preaching to this. It's my last meeting I'm gonna ever bring this up, because I'm not gonna be here after this, but I hope somebody from the new jury will take on this fight and fight this and try to get some cooperation from the Corps or whoever can to get that water level down. You get the water level down, you get a big rain, it don't flood nobody, because you got such a buffer you can come up on. But if the intercoastal is so high that you can't leave that buffer, then when you get a rain, it floods everybody. And it stays for weeks, months on everybody. So that's my thoughts. I've been fighting this for years, and I just wanted to make that statement.
Anybody else got any more questions?
I have 2 short ones.
Okay.
Go back to the cost of the breakdown of the 1.6 million, whatever. Right there. What's that 49 million, what is involved in administrative costs? What is the administrative cost?
That's the state's
salaries?
budget, so the only part that I would assume so, we are funded by the Regional Capacity Building Grant. So we received, each region received $400,000 for 4 years. Yes, 200,000 per 2 years, and that's just how the fiscal agents are funded. The rest, this is going to the state, so this is the state budget. We did not have anything to do with this. Yep. But I would assume so when they say administrative.
The last question I got is, you talked about selling the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program,
The community rating system, which I
to
get.
the community. They got some live here, some got washed out, still haven't got their money from the National Flood Insurance. How do we promote that?
No, I was promoting to the community rating system and incentive program so we could lower flood insurance. I'm sorry, I don't deal with the flood insurance program, but I understand we're frustrated because Louisiana is one of several states that have sued FEMA over this, I think in May. So I understand the frustration, but
So there's no
unfortunately,
answer for it.
I don't deal with insurance, so no, sir.
That's all I got.
Any more questions?
No, we got it.
Thank you.
I guess y'all both probably thinking that, boy, wish we wouldn't have come down here.
No, not at all.
Jeez.
If I could make just a comment, so I understand, and we do care about Cameron Parish. I'm from Evangeline Parish, way up north. We used to come to Holly Beach. I care about all of our parishes because a lot of people in the same boat. Unfortunately, our coastal parishes have more of a challenge. So this idea of the Acadiana Watershed District to get your participation is so we can talk about these and work together. So that's kind of the hope. And with the Corps, very frustrations with the Corps, but hopefully if we can get studies from the Corps, it would give us like leverage or legitimacy to get funds. I am participating in the Corps as a Lower Mississippi River Comprehensive Management Study. There's a meeting tomorrow in New Orleans I'll be participating on behalf of the Acadiana Watershed District. So we're here for you, and again, I understand your frustrations, but if you have any more questions, please
Please feel free to
contact us.
All right. Thank y'all very much.
Is this on the voting meeting this evening? Anything about this one voted?
No, not this evening. So they have an ordinance, I believe, that's going through legal review. Is it ready yet?
Yes.
Through their legal review, and so we'll have to send it through our legal review, and so it might
I'm just
come up.
wondering, I'm not ready to sign it off on it, but I'm just wondering.
It would be something that we would include in our ordinance, to be consistent with,
There could be some more questions for y'all, so.
yeah.
I have a copy of, what we said, an ordinance template. I could give y'all each a copy of that.
Well, I still gotta look at the 16 parishes draining on us.
Absolutely. And
Been draining on us for years.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank y'all.
thank y'all very much. We're gonna move on to number 4, Royal Engineering CDBG project discussion.
Better not come here with no drainage issues.
noted, for sure.
Mac McNeil with Royal Engineers. Just doing a quick update. I'll try to keep this brief on the CDBG projects here in Cameron. So OCD has combined 2 funds. Originally, it was $5.7 million for the infrastructure program and $5.7 for the hometown revitalization program. They have combined those 2 programs so they can the money can be used for either or. Just gives you a little bit more flexibility. You can use all 11 million on one or the other, or split it up evenly between the 2. Just gives you a more flexibility. So the community outreach survey results. This font is kind of small, but this is the website that we put out that y'all put out, and the results have come back with in a lot of different comments on the different projects. Now I'll get to the projects here in a second. So the LMI requirements that OCD and HUD puts on this program is that the area must exceed 51% LMI. Cameron Parish does not have that. There's no LMI census tracts in the entire parish. We think there's some ways around that, and I'll get to that right now. So this will possibly limit some of the projects we can do, but again, we're right now we're in the process of drafting a memo to OCD requesting a waiver on the LMI and petitioning OCD for some leniency on that LMI requirement. We should have that by the end of the week. The projects that have come back that we've gone through, put a really rough high-level estimate and scope to them. Holly Beach Public Fishing Pier, parish-wide LIDAR survey, watershed rain gauge and flood alert project, Cameron sewer upgrades, pump station projects, 911 call center relocation, shoreline protection was a popular one from the survey, and then commercial fishing dock to try to get the commercial fishing back to Cameron. Again, sorry, this font's kind of small, but this is just a timeline. So October 5th, the CEA was signed. That kind of starts off starts the clock ticking. The next thing that we'll do is approve the projects at the next meeting, and then the recovery proposal is due in January. And then once they approve the recovery proposal projects, we'll have 3 months to come up to go a little bit further down the design and estimating process, and then you'll have until 2027 to spend all the funds. So, and that's all I got. Told you I'd try to be quick.
Anybody got any questions?
Come back in 2 months.
Thank you, ma'am.
and explain that
All
to
right,
the
thank you very much.
What's that?
Okay,
Come
wait,
back in 2 months and explain that to the new bunch.
okay, so first of all, you will have to approve the application next month in December. There's a timeline on when we can submit our application, and it's at the beginning of January. I just don't think with timing, the next year you'll be able to vote on this. That was something out of our hands. That's OCD, as soon as they send the CEA, you have 90 days.
Okay, that's good.
Second thing, can you go back to the project slide, Matt, please? These are projects that were submitted through the survey and through public commenting. There were more projects that were submitted, but they were vetted by Royal, and so the projects they knew 100% would not qualify for funding were removed. So these are the projects that they feel could qualify. It's not guaranteed to qualify, but it could potentially qualify. And so what we're asking you today is, are you supportive of these 8 themes? Do you want us to continue working on developing these projects, include them in the application? Now, next month, you will have to pick which ones are gonna be your primary projects and which ones you wanna list as your alternate. And the only way the alternate gets funded is if for some reason the primary one has residual funds, it comes in with a bid and allows for more funding to move an alternate in, or maybe after they go through development, it isn't gonna qualify, and then we'll have to abandon that project and pull from our alternative list. So this will be voted on next month by you. So now's the time to ask questions, talk to your constituents, see what, they wanna see. Or if you're good for them building out these 8 projects, they'll continue. If there's some 100%, without a doubt, it's not worth them wasting their time on, because you're not even gonna recommend it to be placed as an alternative project, now's the time to speak up.
I don't like them all, I don't like all them fishing piers. Protect the shoreline, that's a.
What part of that is it?
How much
Sir?
shoreline protection is that 3 million gonna get? 10 feet?
2 rocks.
Now, you could spend
Seriously.
your entire budget on something like
We
that.
could spend the whole 11 million on that. That, with the flexibility that they gave you, it
When
was
they
just
started,
5 million.
when they started this thing, they had certain monies you could spend for certain things, some of it had to do with economic development. That's where the fishing piers came in, which would be a good shot in the arm for the people in that area. And we pushed that project. Now they combined all this stuff, you know how the government is, they change the game in the middle way. But, this project, this adds up to the total amount of the grant, am I correct?
It adds up to, all these projects add up to more. So we'll submit more, we'll submit primary ones that'll add up to the 11 million, and then we'll submit alternates in case they don't.
This adds up to more than that?
About 15
It's
million.
about 15 million on that sheet. And again, those are really rough estimates, so.
Okay. Next question I got has to do with the LMI. How do they calculate that?
The census,
Well, but the reason I'm asking, is it from salaries paid in Cameron Parish?
to the
Or
house.
the mean income of the people that live in Cameron Parish? Because if you count all those people that go into these plants that are high paid, used to be one of them, they don't all live here.
Right.
So we can't count that and even out and say that the poor shrimpers gotta make more money, or, it's not fair.
It's,
Get my drift, so
it's the
LMI
residents.
should be kicked out, as far as I'm concerned.
You gonna put residents?
yeah, it's based on the census of residents of the parish.
How about voter rolls?
Census, what about voter roll? It didn't go by correct census. That's the problem.
There's some issues with the latest census. If you go back to the 2000, there's some 2000 to 2006 numbers, and the parish is covered up with LMI. And we're,
So you're gonna address the LMI, who are you gonna address it with, how y'all gonna handle it, what's the process?
it's gonna go through the parish to OCD, but we've drafted a memo and we're working on finalizing that lays out those exact issues. There's no LMI in the parish. There's some issues with the latest census data. You can look at the data and even they say there's issues with it. The accuracy is not there.
Okay.
But if you go back to 2006, it's 70-75% LMI. If you go to the 2020 numbers, it's 30% LMI. So the numbers are
But regardless, they're gonna work on getting eligibility increase, they have some strategies and that they're gonna pursue. While they're doing that, you still need to pick your projects and move forward. It might, if we get a waiver to increase the limits or use old data, it won't come before January. It'll come much later next year. So we still need to just stay focused on the projects and let them work out the census data separately, and hopefully we can get some sort of waiver. But if we can't, we need to make sure we pick projects that we are guaranteed to hit that threshold, that LMI threshold. I think shoreline protection's a safe bet if we can expand
Hopefully, yeah.
the benefit area.
Cameron's been in the commercial fishing dock, we're fishing over there, and one
There's several. There's some in Cameron, elevating the existing pump stations around here. There's putting another one back, what was it, replacing Bolo pump that was never replaced after Rita. So those are the types of projects they're gonna work out. You'll get final vote in December. The Cameron sewer upgrades, I think that's gonna be tricky. It's a good project and it's certainly needed, but it's gonna be a little bit harder to meet that threshold. So that might be one that, you're just gonna have to vote to put in the alternative pot, and then if we get the waiver, you can move it, but it's not something right now that's gonna qualify, I don't believe. The 911 call center relocation, that project was just, do we wanna see about, building a new communication tower in Grand Lake so the dispatchers can move full time over there? Right now, that's like an unfunded project. We're still planning on building the fire department and having that shared space, but no one has the funding yet to relocate the tower if that's needed, so that's where that project came from. But that's also something that maybe there's other grant funds we can apply for, or maybe there's something we can work out with the sheriff for shared costs. So that might be something that, you might not wanna build out. The only other one up there that I really think that the assessors here, the assessor's office and our permit department, they share our GIS system. I think it's been 10 years since it's been updated. So we're getting quotes for that, but now might be a great opportunity to use some CDBG funding and update that platform that's so outdated.
Does that mean if we get that new GIS, you'll be able to go up on our taxes? We might not want to do that.
Well, that's what we need to hear from you for, is that one that's being taken off the list?
No, it needs to be updated.
That would be a great project.
And then the watershed rain gauge project, that's what we were talking about, sharing some of the technology with Calcasieu Parish and putting tide gauges and rain gauges throughout the parish and let it do real-time reporting to a database that can be monitored by staff that way, especially if we're gonna start implementing some pump stations, and we already have some water control structures that need to be operated and maintained. They'd be able, these field workers would be able to monitor it, like from their cell phone, and proactively go open or close water control structures as they're seeing the rain. So we think that would be a very good project too. That's recommended by the staff. So it's up to you guys. If you like all of them, we'll build all of them out. If there's one right now that you all can agree you need to just abandon, now's the time to speak up.
What's it next month?
Your final vote is next month.
Okay.
That's fine.
So you're good right now with all of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna pass it
All
over
right,
to
next one.
Christy Lone Song for a JDEC update.
One more little switch, promise we'll be quick.
No, this one here needs to take a little while. We wanna know,
We got all the
where
time.
y'all are.
All kind of questions?
I ain't seen them poles standing up
Yeah,
yet.
that's what I'm talking
Got flags.
That's been there for a year now.
about. We done mowed them all.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn the construction update over to Bo, but before we get started, since we're fixing to kick off construction, we have a few people here today that we wanted you all to be familiar with, since we'll be coming the next couple months, or even if you see us around. So you all know Mr. Michael Heinen and Eric stepped out for a second, but we also have Ron and Saul, and then Bo here. Matt is our EHP expert and the one who helped us to get our permit pushed forward. We asked him to stay as far away as possible because his whole house has the flu right now, so we didn't bring him with us. And then another important update is next month in December, actually here, we're gonna hold a public meeting. Mr. Michael, his staff, his board members will be here to give an update. At that point, we'll have made our way a little further with construction, be able to show you some pictures of construction, potentially have one or two of the contractor representatives here as well, but mainly for Mr. Michael to be able to give an in-person update and answer questions if you have them as construction starts. And then now I'll hand it over.
So this is our laydown yard. This is in Chenal. As you can see, we got a bunch of foundation poles, a bunch of conductor. We got a lot of materials coming in now. The yard's getting pretty full. We are anticipating mobilizing in November, this month, probably next week or the week after. We're in the final stages of the permit. That's the one thing that we've been waiting on. As y'all know, we had to have FEMA input on the permit, the Corps, CMD. So there's been a lot of back and forth on the permit, but all of the boxes have been checked. Mitigation has been paid. So everything is ready to go as far as that is concerned. We're just waiting to get the final say-so on the permit. To start, we're gonna start with the substations. We've got two different contractors that I'll tell y'all before. Substations is EP-Bro. They'll start at the Chalkley substation, which is just south of Lake Charles on the east side of the ship channel, and then work their way down and around. The transmission system will start with the HDD boring under the intercoastal, then we'll move to the Mermentau, and then to the Calcasieu ship channel. You'll see mobilization for the crossings in November, and then you'll see poles starting going into the ground probably in January. Probably covered most of this. I'll give you an update on land rights. We have over 250 servitude agreements prepared. We've got 444 executed. As you can imagine, land rights have been kind of slow, but we do have 2 consultants working, and we're making progress every day. It's slow. There's a lot of different requests from a lot of different landowners. We're meeting with them in person, and we're working through it and trying to address all their requests and getting agreements prepared and executed as we go. Trees coming through Cameron Parish has obviously been a big issue with a lot of the landowners. We have finally confirmed that we do not have to clear the trees out. We can just trim them. There's several different codes that Jeff Davis has to abide by, both from distribution and transmission standpoints. We went round and round, but we do not have to cut down the trees. We will have to trim them in accordance with distribution standards, and that's our final stance. If that changes, I won't be coming back. The flags I was talking about, we have put some new stakes out from Creole all the way to the Calcasieu ship channel. You'll see the stakes with the red flagging. That's where the transmission poles are going to be going. What we're doing there is we want to stake it. We're at about 90% design. So we did LA1 calls after the surveyors have staked them. We're going to assess utilities. The landowners can see where the poles are going to go now, and we can move poles to some extent to avoid utilities. And if it's right in the middle of somebody's driveway, obviously we would be able to move those poles. I think we got everything covered. This is just a picture of the alignment to date. I'm sure y'all have all seen this before, but it's basically going to follow the 69 kilovolt line that was there previously. The 138, so we have a laser, but the 138 did come down from Chalkley straight down to the old Creole bulk right through the marsh. We got to eliminate that because the 230 line is bigger. So we'll make the loop, come all the way, through Cameron and go back in and tie up into Hackberry. We're tying in a different location than what the 69 used to tie in at because it's a 230 line. We have to go further north of Hackberry and tie in adjacent to the Cameron LNG facility right there, where Entergy's 230 line comes in. This is one of our typical poles. It's a steel foundation vibrated into the ground. You've got a flange, and then you got your steel pole that goes up. Average height is gonna be about 85 foot from the flange above ground to the top of the pole. Heights will vary. When we got across the road or make curves, you'll see up to probably 105, 150 poles. You have transmission on the top, and your distribution is underbuilt on the same pole. Spacing will be different. The existing poles, wooden poles that you see out there now, you got about 12 structures per half mile, which equates to about 150 foot between poles. With the new poles, we can span further. So you'll see about 6 structures per half mile, which averages out to about 450 foot between poles. So we'll have less poles. We'll have less crossings on the highway, which is good from a DOT standpoint, a liability standpoint, and bigger, stronger structures. And no guide wires. That's it.
I'm basically here's your question.
I got a couple.
Right ahead.
One, do you expect many, traffic interruptions?
Yes.
Are y'all working on how to handle that? I mean, and the reason I ask that question, it's certain times of the day when the plants are getting off, there's a lot of people on it, but it's only for about an hour. Are y'all working in some kind of way to maybe?
We're working, the situation, it's not gonna be good. I mean, I'll tell you that now. It's gonna be a situation that we have to repeat daily. But once they start putting the poles in, depending on where they're putting the poles in, some places it won't affect traffic at all. And they'll be able to put it in because they'll be off the road. Some places it's gonna be where it is now, and it's gonna affect traffic. And basically we'll do the best we can with what we have. And we do know that we have to follow DOTD rules and make safe work zones. And but from what I'm understanding, once they start putting these poles in, they're gonna go in pretty quickly. And hopefully it won't create that much of a problem. But for me to stand here and say it's not gonna be a problem, that wouldn't be the truth. The truth is it's gonna have some traffic problems we'll have to deal with and prepare for and alter time schedules to get things done in a timely manner.
But it won't be complete stoppages, it'll be one lane.
It'll be one lane.
Only other question I had was, on the poles that are there now, at some point in time, they'll be attached to these new poles and they'll be gone?
They'll be gone.
Okay.
There will not be any wood poles, transmission poles, at all. They will all be steel. And
Bring your trailer and load them up.
no, don't do that. The biggest thing that I'm proud of to say is 69 that's underneath the 230. It's going to be the same type of trimming that we've always done since we've been here. It's going to be based on the distribution line that's underneath it and not based on the transmission line. So you won't notice a difference. The only difference you'll notice is we'll be cutting them according to NESC, National Electric Safety Code rules, so they may be a little bit more taken, but we don't have to take the tree, and we'll work with everybody as best we can. That has been a contention since we started of, really love your trees here. And look, my mom was the same way. If you have a problem with the tree or the line, move the line. Was her way to do it, or move the house, whichever way. So I understand trees and how people love their trees, but there's no difference in what there's going to be there now. So we should be able to get through this without too much heartache. And believe me, I know y'all tired of seeing me, and I love seeing y'all. I love coming here, and I want this line to be finished as much as you do. I can't wait to see some construction started. I can't wait to get that final permit to get construction started. I've quit drinking since Mardi Gras last year. I might start again, who knows? But thank you for your patience, and thank you for all the help. We encourage everyone and the entire community to be here on, what was the date again?
14th.
14th, day before my wife's birthday. What a birthday present. 14th, I have the public meeting. We'll have pictures just like we have here, what the line's gonna look like. The big thing is you'll have less poles than what you have now, no guy wires, bigger, more powerful, sturdy construction that should stay rated at 165 mile-an-hour winds. So I'm very excited and tired. So at this point, if we can get something that's here when the storms come through and stays here, I'm gonna be one happy man, along with all of y'all. So.
Pushing everything off the road, this debris.
Yeah, me and Scott went around and pushing the poles off the road a little bit, but we've come to terms with that, so it's just fine. But we look forward to working with y'all, the new police jury, and everyone in the room. We're gonna get there, and when we do, this will be the LNG capital of the world, and people will be able to move back home, have some jobs, and we'll see the Main Street like it used to be, full of people. Yeah, and that's what we're hoping for, and we're gonna be a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Good.
Hearing none, I move to close the meeting. No, I'm joking.
All right. I got a green card here, Pam Boswell, the health unit.
Good morning, everyone. I'll be very brief. Just wanted to announce on behalf of the health unit staff that we have entered into a partnership with the Cameron Parish Head Start to offer WIC services to the individuals that are participating in Head Start. So we'll be sharing their space and servicing those children and families, even children that are not enrolled. If they are members of the family, they'll be able to be serviced as well. So our staff will be getting out and about and starting that. I think their first appointment is in a couple weeks. So on the move around the parish. And we've also looked at some possible satellite offices in Hackberry and Johnson Bayou to have some temporary, well, not necessarily temporary, but part-time services, health unit services in those communities, taking the services to those communities. So that's all I have. You got any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Can you, do y'all, at the health unit, advertise on, Facebook or anything about your services?
A lot of times we will send things to Katie to post on the Cameron Parish Facebook. As a state agency, we're not allowed to have a Facebook for our local clinics, which is a kind of a point of contention because, of course, everybody's on social media these days. But Katie and them have been very gracious to share.
Well, I know that the tax renewal for that health unit is on the next voting meeting, the next election.
Yes, yes, sir.
And I think that, at the least, some kind of way we need to put out there within the next 2 weeks, just remind all the residents the best way we can of the services provided by the health.
There were some flyers created that provided just education about the services at the health unit, and our staff have been handing those out for several weeks.
Oh, they have?
Yes, they have.
Well, good.
It's on the Grand Lake Sea Lake site right now.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that.
On my flower site.
Okay, Bill, if you don't mind, also Grand Lakes, how about part-time in Grand Lake, where y'all working on?
We haven't been able to establish a location to work from part-time in Grand Lake. So if anybody's aware of any spaces there that we could potentially utilize, that would be awesome. But as of now, we haven't been
No
able
space.
to locate a space just yet.
Y'all at the community church right now, right?
Only for special events,
Okay.
nothing permanent.
Nothing set in
Yeah.
Maybe, is there a building available? Do y'all know if a building is available? What about how big a space do you need?
They could really work in a few hundred square feet, actually. We would just need a place that could be secured to where we could leave some equipment and formula, things that need to be, secured. But, really, a few hundred feet is, square
Like
feet is
that
all
little
it's really.
satellite office that we meet at every once in a while, the drainage.
So I was thinking too, before you.
Why not use that?
They ain't gonna be in there and do health unit stuff. I mean, they gotta leave stuff. How often
We're
would you
just
say
saying,
open?
I think it would really, you would need to kind of see what the uptake is. I think maybe starting with once a week in a satellite location such as Grand Lake where there is a significant population. I think starting there and then seeing how it goes. You know, alternate areas, Johnson Bayou and Hackberry would be maybe every other week for a day because there's not quite the population, you know, that would need as much service.
In those two areas, where were you planning on meeting those two, at the clinics?
We've looked at space at the rural health clinics, the West Calcasieu Cameron Rural
Okay.
Health Clinics.
All right, so y'all working with them on that?
We are initially working with them. We've looked at the spaces, that's kind of where we are at the moment. We haven't gone past that just yet.
Guys, I'd asked about that building, I don't see why they,
I got a question, maybe you can answer, if you don't mind, Mr. President. Is there a mandate for health unit? Is the,
You wanna take that or me? She has more information.
Anyway, I don't have the statute number, but yes, there is a state statute that, indicates that each parish should provide a space for a parish health unit.
so regardless if the tax passes or not, the state still mandates that the parish has to facilitate a health unit.
Yes.
A lot of people didn't know that. A lot of people don't know that.
Yes.
A lot of people should know that you pay taxes toward the health unit, you're gonna pay either from the general fund or from the health unit standpoint. So,
Need to pass the tax, you have to renew it.
yeah, so, anyway.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
very much, ma'am. Thank you. Before we go into review of agendas, like to make a statement here real quick. On the voting meeting, we have some board to appoint, board to take off. I would like to ask you guys, let's try to table this. If the law says we can, let's table it. Let the guys that are taking our place come in and appoint who they want. I don't wanna put people on there that they don't wanna deal with and have our problems and them trying to fix it. So I'd ask y'all just think about that before we vote on these things. I walked in here with my head up high, and I wanna walk out with my head high. I don't wanna do something to have people upset because we done it, because we got beef, or whatever. Let's think about that. Let's think about that before we vote on that, and, let the new guys coming in be able to put their people on that board, or whatever board.
It's on there to vote, Joe, we wanna vote for it. I do.
Yep, I know that. Wait, I'm not gonna get in an argument with nobody. 8 years ago, Scott, since you brought that up, we built a 4-H building down here in Cameron because you guys with the jewelry, you told me. You and Thomas. And it sat there with no use. Now, it just so happened, the port took it over. Let's think about
This
this.
is a water board
I know that.
we've been working on.
I know that, and I understand that. If the law says the new guys can come in and vote on it in January, let's do that.
No.
Let's not have no animosity with nobody.
No.
We live in a small community, let's live with each other.
No.
That's all I got to say. Let's review agendas.
I have a question. Katie, did, they review the lighting situation in Hackberry?
Yes, sir, they have. Energy sent me and Alex an email last week saying that everything was taken care of. He called me yesterday and said the night before he went road and it wasn't. So he replied to the email yesterday telling them that it was not complete.
No, it's not even close to being.
I mean, I email our representative, that's the only person I have contact with, and she relays everything to the streetlight
Okay,
division.
There's light poles, they're supposed to have lights, they don't have them, they're gone.
And Alex wrote everything in email to her, and she said, like I said, she emailed us back earlier during the week, or maybe into last week, saying it's all taken care of. Well, half of Riverside, I think, maybe, was taken care of, and he emailed her back yesterday and told her it was not.
It is not, and we're paying for every one of them.
Yeah, so-
If they can't fix them, I mean, why are we paying for them? And they haven't been working since the hurricane.
And he also asked for an updated map, because every time we email them, we put an account number with, I guess the meter number, and every time we email them, they respond, we need the nearest address. So he has to go back out there and figure out the closest address to it, and the last time he just put us almost all on Main Street, and
There's hardly any of them working.
yeah, and we're working on it. It's just, they're telling us it's done, and he did
We're
reply.
not gonna pay them until they get the daggone things fixed.
Okay.
I mean, really? I mean, they've been out since way before the storm.
Why can't they send that personnel down on the road, go do a survey and?
He flagged them all, and they even have his cell phone number to call him with any issues, and
They're still getting their money, so that's why they don't care.
Yeah, that's great.
So we need to either stop giving them their money or whatever. Like I said, most of those lights in, Stevie's standing, Stevie, how many lights is working in Hackberry?
13 off on the Main Street.
13. I mean,
Start deducting that,
start from red light, at least.
Twice.
I was about to say, dang, you must have counted shoes on.
we can do that.
Something needs to be done with them, either don't pay them or something. I mean, if we're not gonna have the lights, there's no sense in paying us.
Any more questions on the agenda?
Yeah,
Okay.
on permits B, I'm glad Tom's back.
B?
Yeah, B has to do with the carbon injection.
Yes.
Now, this is just test wells. This is not production or in any way, shape, or form, because I'm thinking that they're gonna have to go before a public meeting before they actually do any injection. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Where they at?
This is gonna be an old school section. Johnson Lane.
All right, any more questions on the agenda?
14 and 15, what are those?
Okay, so 14 is the Community Water Enrichment Fund, and 15 is the Local Government Assistance Program. Both of these are state grants. It's allocated through state legislator during their budget every year. This year, we had the opportunity to apply for 100,000 of LGAP funds and 180,000 of community water enrichment funds. The projects that we are submitting for the LGAP funds are surveying equipment for our engineering department, a LiDAR drone, an ATV for road and bridge. And for the community water enrichment grant funds, we submitted to on behalf of all the water districts to replace water meters and flush valves. The thing about these grants is you can only have 2 fiscal years open at one time. So we're going to apply now, but we might not have the opportunity to execute the project for 3 years. So we typically do something like water meters and flush valves because we know that's always needed, because typically these water districts can't wait 3 years for money to do any type of refurbishment projects or for their storage tanks.
So they're both for grants, correct?
They're both for grants.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anything else about the agenda? Everybody good? Katie, y'all good?
Good.
Meeting adjourned.